Hello everyone, I'm Colin Canet. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a series of what I think are some really handy little shop shortcuts. So let's just jump right into them. What I'm standing beside is my new drill press. My old one was 30 years old. Part of it broke. I couldn't get parts, so time to upgrade. What this drill press came with is a much smaller platen than my old one. In fact, this is just a sample underneath here. That's the size of it, pretty small. And that's typical of most drill presses. What I've done here, I have attached my own steel. This is a 10 gauge sheet of metal that I bought from the metal store, drilled some holes in it, and I've put these flat top screws in it so they're all recessed or countersunk in there, and it's super solid on there. Now, the reason I did that is because now when I put my fence on, and if you're using a drill press, it's imperative that you use a good, secure fence on your drill press. This one that I made, this original design is almost 20 years old now, and it uses a couple of magnetic switches. And the reason I like this so much is you can position this anywhere on your drill press platen, lock it down, and that's not going anywhere. I've never had this fail on me no matter what I've been drilling, so it's really handy to move it around. Now in the past I've made big wooden platens on here, or decks, and with adjustable fences on them. I've made two of them, and I ended up taking them off because I found them so cumbersome. I kept running into them, all sorts of problems. This works way better for me. Even though this is a light 10 gauge here, you do all your drilling in the center, and this is supported by the platen, of course, that comes with it. So just a much handier way of drilling. Simple, easy. I just went to the metal store. I told them what size. They cut it. It took honestly like 3 minutes, and very inexpensive. Now, the MagSwitch people also came up with a fence that they market, and it has the same thing. You can adjust that to sort of any position. Now, in this case, of course, in most cases, you're going to want to put some kind of a block underneath it so that the drill's not drilling into the plate all the time. But, that's pretty simple to do. Anyway, I just really like this now. This has just been so handy, being able to use my own platen here, and you can see that I reused this because it gets drilled into here. If you wanted, you could drill a hole in there so that your drill will not impact this if you happen to go through this. But that's all simple stuff. Super handy. Make your own platen for your drill press. What you're looking at here looks kind of unexciting, but what I want to show you is there's my 7 1/4 inch 24 tooth ripping blade. This is a circular saw blade that I use on my table saw, but I also have a 40 tooth for finer cuts, and when I'm doing banding, making banding for wood, there's my 60 tooth. And I also have a metal cutting blade, and I have some others as well. Now, the reason I use these blades on my table saw is they're about half the kerf of even a thin kerf blade. So if I want to save some wood, or if I'm doing some very fine work, these are the blades that I use. And I even have a riving knife, a custom riving knife that I've made with it. So what's the deal with this? These are all these little packages are all little shipping bags. You can see this is an Amazon. But I use these now. Why these are so nice, why I like these, is because I keep them in a separate, under the drill press, actually, in a drawer under the drill press. I reach in, I pick out the blade I want, I bring it over here, I can lay it on the saw. Now, when I'm laying it on the saw, I'm taking the other blade out and putting it in its rack, and you've seen that rack behind me on the wall. What I need to make sure of when I'm changing blades is that the carbide never touches the steel deck of the saw. And the reason for that it can chip. If you even just a small drop like that, if you drop that blade or touch that blade on a steel deck, you can chip that carbide. And if you drop it like this and one little piece falls off, the other ones all of a sudden now are in question whether they're going to come off when you start using that saw. And what you don't want is a piece of carbide coming at you at 300 miles an hour, because I've seen what it can do when it embeds in people's cheeks, and I've seen that. So super easy. You know, you get these things for free. These things come, whatever you get shipping. Hang on to these bags because they make perfect. Now you can use them for these. If you're getting bigger bags, you can do the same thing with your large blades as well. And now you've got a place to lay it on the saw so that you're not going to compromise the carbide teeth on your saw blades. What I'm showing you here is a selection of angled aluminum that you can purchase. Sometimes you can get for free, different offcuts, different recycling places. You can find this stuff. And it comes, of course, if you're buying it, you can get different lengths of it. But here, what really cool, some of the things that you can make. These are industrial door or drawer pulls, and I use this to make exactly that. Really strong door pulls and drawer pulls. And all it is, you can see that I've just split the wood and glued it on. I just use CA glue to glue it on there with. Then you can fasten this onto the carcass of whatever it is. But of course, there's all different sizes of material that you can get. So and this one here, I just used some black paint. So you can paint aluminum. It paints really well. So this is just some other samples of pretty much the same thing that I'm showing you. In this case, you can see the wood, it goes all the way around rather than being glued on either side. There's the glued either side. There's the wood going all the way around. And this one here, I've just left off. I haven't glued it yet so that you can see what it looks like. You just cut a slot in there and away you go. You can glue that on there like that. Now, what's really neat with some of this, you can do, for example, this one here, you can see that I've got a little block of wood, and this is also a door pull. In this case, it would sit on the drawer like this, and you would stick your fingers underneath it to pull out like that. And I'm going to show you in a second what I've done on my cabinet, and there's a long piece of it, and there's some little pieces of wood, and underneath it, they would sit like that. That's exactly what this is. They would sit like that. And now this part here would mount, this part here, of course, will mount on the front of your drawer or your door. And now all of a sudden you have a door pull. So some really neat, lots of different things you can do with this. Painting, different woods, all sorts of cool things you can do making your own industrial drawer pulls. Okay, so you've seen this before. This is the set of drawers that I have in my workshop. But look it's the same. It's this same little piece of angle iron, and you can see, you might be able to see a little bit of wood there. In this case, I didn't know what to do with it, and it was supposed to be temporary, and I just drove screws through. You can see that. I could have used brass or something, and I haven't even finished this cabinet because my intent for the last 20 years has been to remake this, and I keep getting other priorities. But this is so handy. Rather than having to grab pulls on both sides, I can grab this anywhere, and those drawers come out because it's a quick and easy way of pulling them. I've just become so accustomed to this. I know you're probably wondering why I have a leaf blower in my workshop. This is a cleaning leaf blower for me, for cleaning my dust collector and cleaning my shop vacuums. And I have a couple of them. I have a shop vac and I have this one. Now, you may have a dust collector that has a big bag on top of it. That bag either needs to be cleaned or replaced periodically because they get saturated with dust. These I have a canister dust collector. It's kind of a screen with a filter on it. And all vacuum cleaners or vacuums should have some kind of a situation where they have this baffle system, and a canister will have the same thing. And you can see these have these ridges in here. my dust collector manufacturer recommends using an air compressor, and not in this case, but in my air compressor, or my manufacturer says use an air compressor to take the dust out like that. Well, I just have a little air compressor. It's fine for using with an air nailer, but it just runs out of air all the time. It just cycles and cycles and cycles. So what I'm doing now, I'm using a high volume, and any dust or any leaf blower is going to be a high volume leaf blower. And what I do is I take it outside. A leaf blower forces you to take it outside, which is good because you want to be doing this always outside and blowing the air away from you. And you also want to make sure that you're using a mask and eye protection, because sometimes you can hit something the wrong way and it can shoot dust back at you. So you want to make sure that you're protected. So with these, what I can do, I can take this outside, lay it down in my stoop area, and just clean these things off. And honestly, you can really clean this well, especially the canister for my dust collector. They say you should clean it with every 3 bags that you replace, but I clean it every time, and it only takes a few minutes, and that makes that dust collector, these things can be expensive to replace, and the longer you can preserve them, and you have to be careful you don't get too close and blow them too hard, because too much pressure can damage these. But you can see it doesn't take much pressure to blow all of this stuff, and you blow it away. So if you have a leaf blower, you can also use a vacuum cleaner in reverse. That will kind of work, but a leaf blower really works best for this. If you have a leaf blower, or you can pick them up used sometimes, especially electric one like this one, they're a few dollars, and they're a perfect way of cleaning your shop vacuums and your dust collectors. Well, and that concludes my video for today. And honestly, never in my wildest dreams did I ever expect I'd be recommending a leaf blower for a workshop. But you know what? It does a great job. And once you've used it once, you'll go, wow, this is a great way of keeping my dust collector clean, and at the same time keeping your lungs clean. I'm Colin Connett for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.